So, like, anyway, I was beating this kid with Down syndrome. Oh, hey, everybody. Shit, I forgot we were doing a show today. I guess this is a show. This is kind of just as you can tell, with no intro or anything. And I think our happy hours are going to be more like this, um, just because it's happy hour. And happy hour is always a little weird, especially if you were going to happy hour with the group. Noah and I were from the 2010s, 2015. Sometimes jail was needed and bail was needed for some people on some of these, and we've been kicked out of hotels. It's been a blast. How you doing today, brother?
You're really not even exaggerating. I am doing pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Keep talking.
Yeah, no, that you're not exaggerating about the hotels being kicked out, and then some questionable decisions at certain bars being kicked out there.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
You
but
hear
it was hey, we are here, we are alive. Yeah, I can hear you, and that's a blessing, I'd say.
you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, now I can't hear you. Keep
Okay,
talking.
I can. Well, okay. Well, this is a great start to the off season, everybody. We are 2 weeks in, and I'm missing football already. I'm looking up anything football related. Comment if you've been looking at mock drafts for the upcoming draft in a couple of months in late April. I,
Okay, I got it all situated. Sorry.
I was just talking about the upcoming draft in a couple of months and how I'm really missing football and trying to find any kind of football source, site, any ranking, any hope for the Cowboys. Hopefully,
Yeah,
Christian Parker, the new defensive coordinator, can fix the defense or just make them average. If you make them average with that offense, that's a 12-win team, easy.
I really enjoyed. I sent you the thing. I meant to put it on the screen, and I forgot to load it up into the broadcast studio we use. But Todd Archer, he was talking to Todd Archer, or it was something. I don't know. It might have been during his introductory press conference. That kind of got lost last week because of the Olympics and stuff. But basically, he was saying, yeah, like I'm a 3-4 guy, but in today's football, you use the nickel package almost 80% of the time.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not a 3-4 what you used to call the Bill Parcells style, which everybody it kind of worked like the flex in that you didn't shoot the gaps as much as you caught the guards. You protected the linebackers. You let the linebackers flow. He's like, no, I'm an aggressive shoot the gap 3-4. That tells me that they're not getting rid of any of the three big guys they have because you've literally got three guys that can inter swap at tight at defensive tackle and defensive end. That's your three starters right there.
Yeah, and I think getting Quentin Williams last year was a great move, along with Kenny Clark. And yeah, like you said, I think that really solidifies that front three. And as we always say on this show, a good football team is like a good house. You got to build it. It has to have a strong foundation. You got to build it from the line out. A great house. Oh, can you hear me? Oh,
I
oh,
lost you for a
now I'm
second.
having communication issues. Yeah, a great house starts with a foundation. A great team starts with a great line play on both sides of the ball.
So again, this is very relaxed. If you are in chat, if this is the first time watching us and you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, you can comment on there, and we'll see the comment in our studio. It ties all of those together into a nice little chat drop for us. Um, we're still going to do this. Mainly, what our happy hours are going to be in the off season is talking like we would if we were hanging out, and also trying to do more things for shorts and reels because that's been where we've kind of exploded with some of our viewers and stuff. And I don't know, I've seen the meme before. It's not the first time I've seen it, and I'm just going to show it now. We're not going to talk directly right now about this, but I think the main part of this show, which is going to give us a lot of shorts, is I think you and I should go team by team and decide if this is correct. And it's literally every NFL's team best quarterback. And for some franchises that's easy, and for some franchises it's extremely hard. So that fell into our lap yesterday. Me and you've been having discussions with it over in our sports rehab group that we have. I'm gonna start linking that if people want to come check it out and join. We try to keep we test you though. You can't just be an asshole. We've got too many of those already in there. But I think a lot of people thought that was a pretty good list, and I think it's one of the few memes that I've seen when it's ranking stuff that a lot of people aren't getting mad.
Yeah, because I mean, I was really being picky at that list, and I'd say I agree with 30 out of the 32
Hmm.
teams. You have your duplicates. That's a point of contention, but like for example, Tom Brady.
Hmm.
He is the top Patriot and the top Buccaneer quarterback. Well, he was a Buccaneer for 3 years, and I'd say he regressed each year. Maybe the second year was his best, but was his 3 years really better than any other Tampa Bay quarterback? I don't
Well,
know.
when we get there, we'll get into it because that's a good discussion. I think the problem is when you and I are talking about this through chat, is Tampa Bay doesn't have a storied quarterback history. Even the other Super Bowl they won, Trent Dilfer's not, even though Trent Dilfer's career was, I think, way underrated by a lot of people. I think if he comes 5 years later, I think he's a different quarterback because efficiency still was, you were trying to be more efficient, but you still were having, it wasn't the worst if you had 20 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. Like today, you wouldn't start long after that. Hell, that was solid numbers back then. So, but yeah, that's why I think it's an interesting discussion. We'll also discuss a couple other things. Okay, let me go ahead and start with this. I posted this as a reel and got some good responses. This year, I didn't even know going into the Olympics that they had went to NHL rules basically on overtime. If you don't know, before Olympics, you'd play, I think, 2 5-on-5 periods, or maybe just one. I can't remember. I think maybe probably one of those things they changed every. The Olympic rules aren't always the same. They're malleable a lot. But I know it was like 1 overtime or 2 overtimes, 5-on-5. Whoever scores wins, and then goes to shootout. The Americans girls lost to Canada the last Olympics in a shootout. And so they didn't want to do shootouts anymore. So what they decided was let's go NHL rules. 3-on-3, first one scores. I liked it. What about you?
I like it. It's exciting. And I mean, I know there's not going to be a tie in the World Cup, but yeah, I like it. It's more exciting. It just seems more fast paced, and just it by nature it is because there's more ice because there's 2 less players on each team, 4 less players on the ice in total. So I love it. I hope it's here to stay. This is a positive rule change, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's the way you keep the NHL being involved because they don't want to go over there and go 5-on-5. Not when we're getting close to the playoffs where 5-on-5 becomes a thing. Now there is the injury issue. Dallas has lost a guy for a possible few weeks because of the Olympics. Of course, Sidney Crosby for Pittsburgh, he won't play for a few weeks. But I think outside of it, no, we're not going to get into the political side of this. It's just stupid all around. I don't know why we've become so invested on if a team goes to the White House or not. Who the F cares? You're not the one going. It's the team. If they want to go, go. If they don't, they don't. But I think other than all that, I think this was a great Olympic hockey for both the men's and the women's, man. The USA Canada rivalry on the women's is hate but respect. Getting a little bit more into that hate, which that's not a bad thing. And then, of course, the Americans and Canadians and the men's, it's like the NHL All-Star game. I had so much fun watching these Olympic hockey. And I usually don't watch all the Olympic hockey. Usually I'd watch when U.S. play, but I watched when Finland played because there was a bunch of stars on there, Dallas Stars. I watched as much as I could.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with the women's hockey because that's kind of the same thing I've been wanting more in women's basketball, and we're kind of getting it more with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and that kind of matriculated on to the pros. Uh, I like the passion, the attitude. Have some fights. Show that you love this sport. Mix that with the skill you already have, and it makes for compelling TV. I am actually entertained watching women's hockey.
Are you entertained? Drop.
And, honestly, and we had this discussion. I'm not really big on the Winter Olympics as much as I was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Just not that, yeah, yeah. You're the same. I just don't. I don't know if I just identify with it as much, or
Right.
I don't.
I'm confused. He's confused. Why would no?
I mean, I love all sports. I love competition. It's just something about the last few Olympics. I just don't care. Maybe it's politics that gets interwoven. Honestly, if I was great enough to be an Olympian and win, people associate you going to the White House with your political affiliation. That wouldn't be me. I would just be like, okay, as a kid, I saw teams that won a championship go to the White House to meet the president. I want to do that too. I don't care if I disagree with this person. This is still like a part of the tradition, part of the I don't know. It's kind of like the dream I would have had as a kid to if I ever wanted to be an Olympian. That's a thing, or win a championship in a sport. Even though I don't agree with the current president's politics, I would still want to go and just kind of celebrate my win.
Okay.
or my teams win too.
I can tell this is typical. This is just like me and you watching TV right now on the couch because I'm about to do this. I don't know if we have those values anymore as a country, and I don't necessarily mean that in a good or bad way. It's both. Blind patriotism is just, I always laugh about, when I was growing up, and I knew a little bit, but I was right at the mid end of the Cold War, but I was young enough to remember the stop commies, commie. You don't want to be like this. And they'd immediately show like troops, marching, and they're, you don't want to be a slave like this. And then they'd show American flag, but bow to this flag. And it's like, that's the same thing though. Like, that's literally the same thing. You're telling me the same thing. Oh, you're free to do it if you don't want to. Yeah, not on social media, you're not. We say that all the time. Also, I think, I do think that it is a little different when the Olympics aren't the only thing you have to watch. I think this is one of those things that truly that cable and then the internet just completely changed. Because I can remember as a kid watching freaking figure skating because it was the only thing on. Like, nothing else would be on. Because when the Olympics were on, if you don't remember in the 80s, everybody ran reruns during the Olympics because everybody's going to go watch the Olympics. I kind of now wonder, what if one of those channels be like, you know what, let's debut a new show that we've been wanting, and might have, but nobody did. So I don't think anybody has that anymore, and it's sad, but it's not. Like, I think it's just the evolution of how we feel about our country.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think streaming services, stuff on Netflix, Hulu, some of that stuff's starting to be replaced by just people being on their phones doom scrolling, aka going on Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, and just looking at videos, comments, and doing that for 3 hours. Yes, I know you're probably one of them. I'm definitely not. I've started to realize I have eye issues. Like, my eyes start straining when I'm looking at my phone for too long. So
Well,
that's kind of.
I will say this. God damn it, I don't remember where it's at now. Nope. Well, now, Noe, to be fair, a lot of times I'm looking for content. Like, I'm looking for content, whether it be for you and me on this show, for our bad movie show, for high school. But it is easy to get caught up into that. Like, you and me are the same. We go to bed pretty early, and sometimes I'll just wake up at 2 a.m. I can't sleep, and I'll do that for 2 more hours, and then I'll go back to sleep. So I know it's not healthy, but yeah, it's real easy to get addicted and into that. I will sit, and it's the reason why I put a couple of our show movies things up. I will sit and watch quotes or a scene from a movie, and just watch that scene and then scroll on to the next one.
Yeah, it can be very addictive. I mean, it's not like you're the only one. There's millions of people in the country, billions around the world that do it. So, speaking of which, we're kind of breaking from tradition.
I was about to say, speaking of addiction, what are you drinking?
I am doing a 12-year single malt scotch called Tamdu. It's pretty reasonably priced scotch, sherry oak cask. That's one of my favorite types of ways to age the whiskey, which means sherry cask is like a wine barrel. So that wine, that red wine flavor you get in it, and yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. How about you, buddy?
Just drinking my normal Taka vodka with an occasional Tawaka. That's funny. I drink Taka and Tawaka. It's like dating twins. But I occasionally, studio wife will bring in some Tawaka for a shot and just chilling. Oh, by the way, she'd like to report to you that she used Stro for one of her hot toddies. When my wife has got allergies, she likes to take one of those nighttime flu things. You warm it up in a tea. It's honey and stuff. And she said it was actually good. Like, it was like, it tasted fine.
Yeah, I did it on a show a year or two ago. I can't remember when. I think it was like a punishment drink. And
the first year we brought the show back when we were still in the old studio.
Okay. Good memory.
First times we did it like this, where you weren't in studio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I liked it. I just did black tea, and I just poured a shot of Stro in there, and it killed a lot of the aftertaste that you typically get with Stro, which is it first tastes like butterscotch for one hot second, and then it tastes like gasoline after it.
Like,
and it burns you up. I forced Terry to do 4 shots during Super Bowl, and but yeah, if you put it in tea. Now, what I want to do next time we hang out, let's do it, but then turn it into iced tea because you're not much of a hot drink person.
So you want to
Let's
do it and then make iced tea? Okay. Taking our relationship to the next level. But
no, sir, no. No, but I think I want because I really want you to try it.
I've got to drop now if you say I want you to come over and let's do it.
I think you've already outdrank the coverage, sir.
Actually, I'm feeling pretty toasty. All right, so before we get into the quarterback stuff, anything you want to talk about? Oh, Kirk Cousins basically is told he's going to be released here in a couple of weeks from Atlanta. No shock. I think it was it showed that they were as stupid as signing him and drafting Michael Penix Jr. The one thing they did right was they went ahead and kept Cousins last year just in case they needed him, and then they needed him. Now he didn't help them get to the playoffs. I don't know if he has anything left. I said on our one of the posts about it on Sports Rehab, I could see him having a Joe Flacco style end of his career if he wants to play for 3 or 4 more teams, start a couple, all that. But man, it's not like he looked good last year when he was playing with Atlanta.
Yeah, he didn't look great. They were winning with him. I think they ended up being 5-3 with him as a starter, but I wouldn't say he looked like he did in 2022 with the Vikings. I almost feel like he could end his career like Joe Flacco, like you're saying, but he's too much of a family man. I don't know if he maybe wants to plant his roots, maybe. I don't know the phrase, but like stay somewhere forever. When he raises kids, let them stay to have some consistency. He just seems like more of a family man. So I don't know. I there's places he could go and he could be serviceable. Like
Philip Rivers is a family man. He literally has like 27 kids, and he ended up spending his last couple of years bouncing around.
He has an NFL team, is what he has as far as kids go.
Then they're all gonna age at the same time, and then they're just gonna form the Philip Rivers.
the 33rd NFL team.
The 33rd. That's
and he's a biblical guy. He's very Christian, and the number 3 is very important in the Christian faith.
I am emailing that. Oh no. I think my computer is my keyboard on my big computer is dying. No big deal. I can use my laptop. I emailed that the 33rds. That's my new fantasy football name next year. Because you won a title, so I can't say no, he can't win it. You've won it. Damn, that should have been your bet.
Well, just in one league.
Hey, you've won it. You've won it's the AAFA version of the NFL fantasy football. No, but yeah, the 33rds. I don't know why that just sounds like a great effing fantasy name. Yeah, I see your point though, and you're right. He's like a family guy, but I mean, he's only 37, and again, you and I have talked about this many times. We're in a different era, especially for quarterbacks. And this is why I don't mind the rules to protect quarterbacks. They can play as long as they want. Like, it would not shock me if he wants to, if Dak Preston doesn't play 10 more years. Like, he could easily, if he wants to, play 10 more years.
Yeah, Dak Prescott turns 33 this year, so he's still fairly young. Again, Dallas just needs to keep that offensive line good. This is a copycat league. What we saw with Seattle in the Super Bowl, you saw a team that dominated both sides of the ball. Getting Gray Zabel in the draft last year kind of solidified that offensive line. Getting DeMarcus Lawrence on the defense solidified that defensive line. Elite offensive and defensive line. I think that's going to be what a lot of teams do going into this draft and free agency. You don't need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl, as what had happened ever since Tom Brady came into the league. You can win with Sam Darnold, who's a really good quarterback. I wouldn't say elite, but he's a really good quarterback, and he's a capable starter in the league.
You can win with Sam Darnold having a terrible Super Bowl.
He did have a terrible. You are completely correct. I was going to tell you this. I forgot. I don't think I told you this already. You know how much I love Madden 97 on the Super NES?
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, I played that a lot. I played it to death. I still have the game in a box.
We broke it out a couple times and played it.
They played exactly how I play in that game. I run heavy. Defensive was aggressive. And all you needed was your front four, and then all the points the offense score or the opponent scored was at the very end. That's almost exactly carbon copy how my Madden 97 games played out.
I tell you what, I think that would be a fun series for the show. me and you run run a 97 franchise, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. And like whenever we hang out, just play a couple games and recover. I can get a capture card, dude. I think that'd be fun. But yeah, I mean, that's what they did. And the funny thing is everybody wants to compare Legion of Boom to them. You really can't, because even since 2014, the game has changed so much. Like Seattle has a great defense, but Seattle can be scored on, because in today's NFL, unless you just have a terrible offense, even good defenses are going to give up points. But yeah, I think that what you're talking about, Don, I think, again, we'll see if teams do that. Anthony Richardson has asked to be traded, supposedly, or sources say, supposedly. Sources say. To me, he is the logical, if you put him on the correct team. Like, I really wish Minnesota wasn't so into J.J. McCarthy, because what I would want to do is go, fuck it. Let's bring in Anthony Richardson. Let's bring in Kirk Cousins. Kirk, you're back. You're running it for at least 1 year. We're gonna tear down Anthony and rebuild him back up, and then we'll see where we're at next year. But they're obligated for the J.J. McCarthy, so we'll have to see where that goes.
LA, you bring a good point with Minnesota, because Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, is considered a quarterback whisperer. Now, we haven't seen a full season of J.J. McCarthy, so a lot of people want to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I saw him against Dallas. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, Nathan Peterman could look like a Hall of Fame quarterback against that Cowboys defense.
One mistake wasn't even his fault when the ball got tipped and intercepted. Other than that, he was surgical. Like, if I'm Jerry, that's the game. I still continue. I told you this after I read the quote. That's the game Jerry realized things were off, because he literally said, it sure does seem weird that every time we play a quarterback, they have a career day.
When Jerry starts to see the point, then you're messed up. Studio wife with the shot.
Shot to Waka. Do a shot. Cheers. Everybody watching, all 4,000 of y'all, 5,000 now. Do a shot.
Yeah, thanks for joining, everybody. If you have a question, I mean, this is kind of like a loose happy hour. We're just
always loose at happy hour.
We're just winging it. So if you have any questions, we're more than happy to share our opinion. A sober opinion or drunk opinion, depending on what time of the evening you send the message.
I kind of feel like we need to make the rule: you cannot be sober watching this show, because you're going to realize how stupid we sound. All right, here we go. I want to do the first one. One of the things we're doing tonight is we're going to do a couple reels. Now, in saying that, I legitimately think the 32 quarterback thing will be a lot of our reels, because we're going to do that here in a second. But I want to do the one that I've been wanting to do for a while. Sorry if I'm away from the mic, y'all. I'm putting some more Gatorade in my drink.
Oh, little electrolyte game.
Little electrolyte game. Got to be good. Got some little cookies and macaroni cheese for dinner tonight. Tomorrow it's Chewy's. And then Saturday, I hate to tell you this because you are in your religious fast, my friend. I tried that with you a few years. It sucks for me, but that's just because I just bought like 20 bean burritos from Taco Bell with no cheese, because I didn't know what else to eat. But so she likes to do this thing where we get some Chewy's jalapeno ranch, and she makes baked potato with bacon and chives, and then usually we do a rotisserie chicken. Saturday, we're going to go get some of that steak that we used on the nachos, and we're going to do it with steak. So I'm excited for this weekend.
I'm going to need some pictures of that.
I will give you some pictures of my penis. I mean, of that too. All right, here we go. This is a reel. You and I have had a conversation many, many times in person. In fact, it's I remember this as being one of the longer first times we talked sports, when I think we both realized each other knew what they were talking about. Because, here we go, in 3, 2, 1. Why is Ken Norton Jr. not considered a better player? How do you say that? Why is he underrated? Ken Norton Jr., even in his career, in the middle of it, winning 4 straight Super Bowls, going to only 2 All-Pro lists and 2 Pro Bowls. He was Defensive Player of the Year, top 5 in 1995 with San Francisco. But in turn, Noe the Pro, I ask you, why is he not considered a better player in the eyes of historians?
You usually kind of crap on players that are not consistent, or they're not. Let me rephrase. They're consistent, but they're not spectacular.
Yes,
he doesn't have anything that signature outs. Like, the one thing I remember about Ken Norton is him emulating his dad. His dad was a famous boxer, Ken Norton Sr., going into the end zone, the goalpost, and punching it, like kind of like his dad would be punching an opponent.
How do you know he wasn't honoring the late Visa Kahima?
Oh, I don't think I remember him doing that.
Oh yeah, that was Visa Kahima on special teams. That was his big thing for a while. He was honoring his dad, but no, I kind of thought Vi might be a little older for you. Like by the time you started watching, he had a couple good years. But yeah, that's what his thing would do. He would, if he scored a touchdown he would go and start punching the goalpost, the thing on the road, because it was always like it was the Giants. That's the most famous one. Let me see if I can find that. Oh,
so I was going to also say Norton. He kind of reminds me of a modern day London Fletcher but Gordon Norton has the Super Bowls, because he won 3 straight with 2 with the Cowboys, 1 with the 49ers. But yeah, that's the difference between him and London Fletcher. But I think both players are definitely Hall of Fame worthy.
But I mean, the thing about London Fletcher is he was getting. Let me see if this is. He was getting underrated accolades while he played. Norton wasn't. Like I said, he only made 3 Pro Bowls. And this is a guy that, in my opinion, and one day we'll do this, we'll have the top 15 plays of the Super Bowl. His goal line tackle of Kenneth Davis is a top 5 play. People want to look at the score at the end and go, well, why? Because it was still a close game at that moment. If Buffalo scores right there, they take the lead. And so that was such a huge play that kind of, I feel like when they did that, the biggest play in Super Bowl history, and it was the Leon Lett. And it's not because I'm a Cowboy fan, because I think it's a funny play. It's that that play didn't do anything.
It's memorable. They misdescribed it. They should have said most memorable, because that was a very memorable moment in Super Bowl history. Leon Lett fumbling the ball into the end zone. But yeah, greatest plays. Yeah, of course. I definitely agree with you. This definitely shouldn't even be on the list.
I'm gonna go ahead and go back. This is the famous one. This is Visa Kahima.
Yeah. And I remember him. I just don't remember like a lot of his prime years. I don't think, like you said, I wasn't watching him during his prime years.
So he famously goes and does this to the Giants thing.
Ah, okay.
And so he started doing that whenever he scored. Now, there's a little unknown fact. A lot of people that are your age, you might not even remember, because I think it didn't change till 92. It was in the 90s, early 90s, like 90, 91, 92. You used to have at the goalpost foam, the protective. So before they changed the rule, if you were in Texas Stadium, one side still said the Giants, because that was the 2 teams playing. And then they eventually just said, no, the home team should get both of them, which that makes more sense. But yeah, you can go back and look, and there's video of the Cowboys playing in Texas Stadium against the Giants, and yet the Giants have a foam barrier thing in one end of the end zone. I don't know if they changed them. They might have changed them during quarters. That'd be real easy to do. It's just literally Velcro, and you split them off. I actually did that once. I was on Texas Stadium ground, ripped thing. Security guys like, yeah, please don't do that. I'm like, sorry about that.
Oh God!
I want to go back to it though. I feel like Ken Norton Jr. is criminally underrated. I legitimately don't understand why he didn't get more All Pros. And I get that the Dallas defense. I mean, you could almost say that they were the no-name defense with how they were treated as far as the media and stuff until Dion. Charles Haley and Dion got all the accolades, but. I mean, just the difference in them losing in 94 was Ken Norton Jr. being on San Francisco, in my opinion.
That was one of the differences, but he was a victim of also he was consistent, but he was on great teams that had big personalities that kind of overshadowed his performances as well.
That's fair.
The 49ers, you had for the 94 season, they had Deion Sanders, you had Merton Hanks, and then I don't think Stubblefield was on the team, but there was a lot of different personalities on that team that kind of made them very interesting. Oh, Gary Plummer, yeah.
I mean, he wasn't a loud personality, but yeah, I legitimately feel like Ken Norton Jr. should be in the Hall of Fame. Like, to me, I don't understand in the moment. And I don't understand looking back now how more people. I mean, we can't even get Darren Woodson in the Hall of Fame. Leroy Butler and Leroy Butler. I am not saying Leroy Butler doesn't deserve the Hall of Fame. He did not deserve it before Darren Woodson, and especially now 4 years before Darren Woodson. Like Darren Woodson, unfortunately, he's about to get into that vacuum where he won't be on the finalist team. He'll get in by the veterans, but it might be 20 years from now.
Yeah, that's a shame, and I agree with you. Leroy Butler and Darren Woodson were basically the same guy in especially in the late '90s in the NFL. Great safeties, both Hall of Fame worthy.
Yeah.
Obviously, Butler's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, Darren Woodson's the only guy from the '92 class that has a remote shot at actually getting into the Hall of Fame.
One of your favorite tidbits. I love when you bring that up.
I always remember that because I can't believe how bad that '92 draft class was, where there's not one single Hall of Famer. There's some solid players, but not one Hall of Famer.
You know,
and I really think Woodson deserves it. I think he was consistent. He was on all 3 Super Bowl teams. The first one, he wasn't that big of a contributor, but he started becoming more of a presence, especially when they started making changes in the secondary.
Hang on. Well, now, Noe, to be fair, you're actually mistaken on that, because when Bill Bates tore his knee up, it was Darren Woodson that took over his position. So he became he played a lot that second half of the Cowboy 1992 season.
Well, I know he played, but he wasn't like a starter, right? Once
Bill Bates got hurt, he became the nickel guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure how much the Cowboys ran nickel back in the '92 season, though.
Well, I mean, it's not like now, but it was ran like it was like he was used a lot. Especially, you got to remember, you're talking about when you were playing San Francisco and Buffalo, you were dropping that. That's why I can't remember. Is it Darren Smith? One of the linebackers, like, just was a tackle machine, but then you go look in the playoffs and he didn't have a lot of tackles. It wasn't he was bad. That he was the one that I can't
Well,
remember.
I mean, Darren Woodson was a converted linebacker. He was linebacker at Arizona State.
Yeah, and he was perfect for that tweener nickel, because back then, especially, your nickel needed to tackle. Like, I mean, they do now, but back then even way more. I'm looking at the '92 draft. This is a fun one. So the '92 draft. Do you remember who the number 1 pick was?
Oh, no, I don't. Was it Edmund?
Yes, the Colts went back-to-back, Edmund and Coriat. Everybody thought they rebuilt their defense. And to be fair, Coriat had a solid career. Edmund did too, just injuries. Injuries was always their thing. 3 and 4, Sean Gilbert, Desmond Howard. Solid. Both of them, really solid. Terrell Buckley and David Klinger, that's your first your bust. Okay, what about Troy Vincent? Here we go. Here's the real 3, 2, 1. Intern Noe the Pro, the Commissioner. It's the Hall of Fame or Hall of Very Good. I present the case of Miami Dolphin legend Troy Vincent. Your thoughts? Hall of Good or Hall of Fame?
I'm gonna say Hall of Fame. I remember the times he was with the Eagles, more so with the.
Me too.
Yeah, so I really think he could sneak in, kind of like with Woodson. I think Darren Woodson should get in before Troy Vincent, but I think Troy Vincent had a really good, if not Hall of Fame worthy career. I'm gonna go say Hall of Fame.
He's one of those. I think the issue that hurts him is, while he was solid with Miami, he never lived up to the draft pick for them. And then when he went to Philadelphia, he got better as he aged. His 2 All-Pro years were in the last few years of his career. He made All-Pro in 2002. He made second team All-Pro in 2001. He retired in 2006. So he's one of those. I kind of go the Tom Landry. It's not that Troy Vincent wasn't athletic, but he got smarter as the years, and he got better as a corner. I know this. I hated when he was with the Eagles, because, man, he just came up, and it wasn't always interceptions. It was just big play after big play after big play.
Yeah, a lot of people focus on Brian Dawkins in that secondary, but Troy Vincent was the one I was really scared of.
Dude, I will say this, and this is Andy Reid obviously won Super Bowls, so you can't call him a choker. But how that Eagle team didn't win at least one Super Bowl in that era will be that's a missed rings episode. I still think you and I should just kind of take that over from the NFL. Call it missed. Because the one thing I don't like about what they do with that is their mystery. The way they did the rules were, and I get it, I like rules and stuff like this, it was only a 1-year team. Well, some of these are like how like you could do a whole thing on the 80 to 85 Cowboys. How did they not, get to one Super Bowl? And they also wouldn't do a team like the 94 Cowboys because they won two and then a third. But the 94 Cowboys not making it to me is one of the most interesting stories because that's the beginning of the destruction of a dynasty. And by the way, that's why I think they win with Ken Norton. He had that Troy Aikman style of leadership. I think now I wonder if let's just say he'd have stayed, do you bring Dion in 95 because you won in let's say Ken Norton's a Cowboy, they win in 94. Dion doesn't have, oh man, that's a what if. Dion doesn't come in. You're not signing somebody to a $13 million contract in this new era of salary cap. Maybe that Cowboy dynasty extends, even though I contend Deion Sanders' best football was played as a Cowboy. Sadly, after the Super Bowls, him from 96 to 99 or whenever it was, I mean, he was an all-pro like 3 times. He still had the greatest Monday night performance in the history of Monday night against the Giants. But that's the what-ifs I love, and we all go back to Ken Norton Jr.
The 2002 Eagles, I think that's a missing rings team. 03, I could see them being competitive against the 03 Patriots. The Patriots the year before, they were 9-7, missed the playoffs. But that 03 team, they were pretty good. The Panthers almost beat them. And I could definitely see it. So 02, 03 for sure. 01, I don't think they would beat the Rams at all. And the Rams beat the Eagles in the conference championship game in the 2001 season. And I think if they play that game again, the Rams would have beat them. I just think that 01 Rams team that's a missing rings team. That was one of the best teams ever that never won the Super Bowl.
Yep. And again, there's a world if the officials call the Super Bowl tightly, the Rams probably win. And I'm not knocking what they did. Again, former Marshall Maverick Terrence Shaw was a big part of that as a fourth cornerback. They basically got in the faces of Bruce and Holt and Ricky Prohl and would not let them off the line. And Bill Belichick was like, take a 5-yard penalty. Take a 5-yard penalty. I'm fine with that. Take a 5-yard penalty. I'd rather do that than Torrey Holt hit us for 65 yards. And then he got a refereeing crew that let them play.
Man, for a good 10 to 15 years of his run, Bill Belichick was such a defensive genius. He would come up with unique ways to go against great offenses, and it would always work. He just knew. But then, like around the time he played the Eagles in the 2017 season, then you could start seeing some of the decline. But that's just a great example. Now, I don't think the 1990 Super Bowl, the Giants and the Bills, I don't think his game plan should be going into the Hall of Fame. I think the 01 Patriots defensive scheme should go in the Hall of Fame.
I agree with that. All right, let's go ahead and get into it now. We kind of did all that. I mean, there's a lot of other what's his name? The linebacker for Chicago's asked for a release.
Edmonds.
Yeah, Edmonds. We were talking about it. We'd love to see him as I don't know if I'd trade for him unless it's like a 5th or 6th because Dallas doesn't have a 2nd-round pick. That's why I did. Oh, okay. Here we go. Before we get into it, your thoughts on Brandon Aubrey's agent? Now, Brandon Aubrey has now come on Instagram or something and said fake. So we don't know. It could be just him trying to get ahead of the thing. But apparently, the Cowboys have offered him like $7 million a year for like 3 or 4 years. His agent has said $10 million a year. So they are going to put a tender on him on the 2nd round, meaning if a team signs him for $5.8 million, that's because they set an amount. For $5.8 million, the Cowboys would get a 2nd-round pick. Would you rather have Brandon Aubrey next year or a 2nd-round pick?
High or low 2nd? Because let me tell you something. There's a trade-off.
Yeah.
If you get basically a 3rd-round pick for Aubrey, you better hit on it because there's not many great kickers in this league, and he is one of them, in my opinion.
Okay, so I will disagree with you there. It's so funny too because 3 years ago I agreed with you. We talked about it. Tight ends and kickers 3 and 4 years ago looked like they were about to hit a weak spot, and then boom. I mean, there are other guys that kick 60-yard field goals, and I do contend, and I understand. And I get your point. He could be perfectly fine, but maybe it's the Dan Bailey drop that I see that Aubrey at the end of the season wasn't at. I mean, there's a couple games that if Dallas wins because he makes kicks, they're still in the playoffs. Now, again, we probably wouldn't want them to go to the playoffs. They'd have got their ass kicked. Or no, this would have been the year they make it to the Super Bowl, then lose 70-0. But I will contend. I think you got to at least think about this. Like, hope a team signs.
I would. Okay. I'm going to say this like I told you in our chat. My heart says I want Aubrey as a Cowboy for life. He's 30 years old, one of the best kickers in the league, very reliable. I have a lot of trust in him, like I did with Dan Bailey before he wore out. I just can't objectively pass up on a second-round pick just to get, in exchange for a kicker. That's just gold. Like to get back into the second round and you're sacrificing a kicker, but of his quality, it's pretty hard to do. But I'll go ahead and objectively, I'll take the second round pick.
And saying that, as I said in our short, and I'll probably do this one as a short too, they're going to re-sign him. He would be, unless he's going to another dome stadium, and he's, you would be stupid not to stay in Dallas, because for 8 or 9 of your games, depending on the year, you're going to be kicking in dome situations, and then depending on, you're not going to have that many bad weather games. So I think they'll end up signing him. All right, let's go ahead and pop this up now. Let me find it.
And now for the main events.
Oh, I just realized. Hang on, I got to switch. I didn't realize the whole time we were working in the wrong. There we go. All right. So found this list, or found this meme. Again, I've seen it before. But I gotta hang on. I will have to take that down. So I want people to see the bottom.
Do you want to read it in Arabic from right to left, or you want to go from left to right?
Hey, we don't lack no Arabic numbers in our schools here in America. All right, we're gonna have to just. Oh, that's what it is. Sorry. Okay, there we go. I'm trying to get to where it was just you can see the thing. All right, so we're just gonna go team by team. All right. We're going to start with the AFC. We're going to do 32 best quarterbacks, respective to their team, of all time. And I'm going to chop this up into 400 reels, and everybody's going to hate us and say we're complying with it. I got a thing on that. Again, I love all you listeners, but if y'all have complained on the Buffalo, Denver, the NFL rigging things, and you didn't read the title, tongue-in-cheek response, that's on you. You don't got to get so mad. It's just a sport, okay? Anyway. All right, best quarterbacks of all time, AFC, starting the East for the Buffalo Bills. Jim Kelly now, yes. When Josh Allen finishes his career, we shall see. Now, because this is going to be the thing. Yes, Jim Kelly got them to 4 Super Bowls. But will that trump, if Josh Allen doesn't get them to the Super Bowl, will that trump what Josh Allen's stats are going to end up being? Because Josh Allen is going to end up being one of the statistically greatest quarterbacks of all time, as long as he just stays average his career the rest of the year, his career.
Yeah, and Josh Allen has the durability. He's young. He still has a lot of he has a lot of football left in his career. So there's a chance where he can get to 4 Super Bowls. Might even win a Super Bowl.
Doesn't it feel like he's kind of having a John Elway career? Except for not getting to the Super Bowl and losing, he's getting to the AFC Championship game and losing. And sometime 4 years from now, Buffalo's going to finally figure it out as his skills start declining a little bit, that he needs real help. And then all of a sudden, they're going to be a better team. I just feel like that's going to happen.
And, they really addressed it on the offensive side. They have one of the best lines in football. They have a great running back. They have, receivers.
Yeah, the receiver thing.
And the defense needs to be improved for sure. As of right now, I like Jim Kelly as the best quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. Another shot from studio wife.
I should never tell her she can bring them to me whenever she wants. And by the way, she told me that, well, as soon as you start your show, I'm probably not going to drink anymore. I'm going to just cook dinner and read a novel and, sips.
I heard her say some not so flattering things to you.
That's love. All right, AFC East now. Now, this one's interesting. Dan Marino. Stat-wise, yes. Dan Marino is one of the best quarterbacks in the history of the league. But Bob Greasy took them to 3 straight Super Bowls. But in their undefeated season, Bob Greasy was hurt for most of the year. So I agree with the Dan Marino, and I respect the fact that whoever created this list, it's at, I don't want to give them respect. Does that say sock football? I'm blind. Up at the top, sossports.com. So go check them out. I think they did a good job. I agree, Dan Marino over Bob Greasy.
I agree. And if you really look at, we need to really define what best quarterback is, because really think about the second Super Bowl when they played against Minnesota. I think Bob Greasy only threw the ball 7 times. I think he was 6 for 7 in that Super Bowl. They were a running team for the most part. His best years, kind of like with Terry Bradshaw, were the later part where he was passing more. But as far as the early 70s, he was a typical early 70s good quarterback where he was a good game manager, didn't turn the ball over much, was really good at handing the ball off to elite running backs and fullbacks, and had an elite line. So Dan Marino had to do a lot with little. As far as talent, Marino, success, you got to give it to Greasy. But I'm not sure what our definition here is of best quarterback.
I think that's the fun part, because we're going to get into it, not get into it, but when we get to the Cowboys, that's a fascinating study. And by the way, and we've talked about doing this before, but this has really kicked off our idea we want to do, and other channels have done this. I've read many articles on it. Positional rankings by franchise, like what team historically has had the best quarterbacks, running backs, and go through each one of them, because you're going to be surprised at how many times it's the same 4 or 5 teams at the top 5, just because that's great teams have great players. New England, Tom Brady. I mean, there's no other. Just for shits and gigs, I guess Tony Eason, Drew Bledsoe, if you weren't going to put Brady, but Brady was a better quarterback, and he had the success.
Yeah. Brady had the longevity, had the success. 0-1 Patriots. Drew Bledsoe came in the AFC title game and helped the Patriots get to the Super Bowl, but that was Brady's team. And yeah, there's no question about that. This one's the easiest one. Tom Brady for sure.
Yeah. And then for the Jets, this is the easiest too, Joe Namath.
Made the guarantee, Super Bowl 3. Yeah. Ken O'Brien in the 80s gets a nod too. There were some good teams on the Jets. The Jets had in the mid 80s. I can't think of like Vinny Testaverde in '98, but it was a very short period of time.
Yeah, 1 year, 2 years. Yeah, again, Joe Namath. I mean, if you want to talk about, if you really want to talk about truly on just accolades of what they did, stabbing Sanchez. I mean, that dude, 2 straight AFC title games.
Oh, Stabby. I wonder what he's doing now.
Still wondering how he lost a fight to an Uber driver.
I think he's an older guy too.
Yeah, all right, let's go to the AFC West. Denver Broncos. This is easy. John Elway. They're a franchise that, I know Craig Morton took them to a Super Bowl, but that was all because of their defense, as you saw in the Super Bowl itself. I always considered that Jake the Snake, very underrated. What's his name? That was on the league. Bears. Cutler.
Oh, Jay the Cutler.
You never got to see Cutler fully what he could do there. I wish they'd have kept him. I would like to have seen that. But John Elway has everything.
I want to throw in a name. Peyton Manning.
He wasn't there long enough, and let's be fair. Well, now, Noe. To be fair, he was noodle arm in their Super Bowl win. Like, Brock Osweiler got them to the Super Bowl. Like, I wonder if Peyton feels like, okay, I guess I kind of, like Jake Ottinger does for winning the gold. I won the gold. I didn't really do nothing. It's weird, too, because his first year there was old Peyton Manning. I mean, that's the 2013. They stats everywhere. Just it looked like the Colts from 2003 reincarnated. But after that, he just never was healthy again.
Yeah, 2011 to 2014, it was prime Manning. He was great. That last year, you knew he was over with. So, but yeah, I was just throwing that out there. I was trying to think of another Bronco that had a big impact on the franchise.
All right, franchise best quarterback of all time for the Oakland Raiders, Ken Stabler. I think.
Whoa. You're skipping one.
No, we'll get there. I just want to go Raiders next.
Okay, my bad. Please go on.
I wanted to talk Ken Stabler because the Raiders have a fascinating quarterback history because they've had some really good quarterbacks, but not Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Darryl LaMonica, the Mad Bomber, could throw the ball a country mile. the white Anthony Richardson, except for Richardson can run. Well, Richardson can run until he gets tired. I feel like, here's so for what I gotta say this joke because it just came to me. Whatever team gets Richardson, all you need to do is every 20 yards set up one of like those marathon stations where he can run and grab water while he's running and pour it all over himself. He'll be fine. But yeah, so Rich Gannon won an MVP, but he wasn't there long. Mark Wilson, solid quarterback, but never could stay 100% healthy. I'm trying to think of the others. Jim Plunkett won 2 Super Bowls, but was terrible for the most part his whole career, but won 2 Super Bowls. Eli Manning. Who else? Trying to think of who was in the 90s before Gannon.
I mean, there was a Vince Evans piece. There was one of my favorite quarterbacks, the greatest mustache of all time, Jeff Hostetler.
Hostetler, again, was solid, could never stay healthy. Todd Marinovich, one of the classic "what if his dad wasn't a dick" guy, and I love that. I love that he figured his life out afterwards. He didn't go down the like killing yourself type. He found peace with himself. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's Ken Stabler.
Yeah, I agree. It's Ken Stabler. I like talking about the other great Raider quarterbacks, but yeah, for sure, Ken Stabler. They had the longest amount of success. They kept going to the AFC title game year after year. They finally broke through in '76. It's kind of an asterisk, unfortunately, because they played the Steelers at home, and the Steelers didn't have Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier, but a win's a win.
That's the way football go. Phillip Rivers, I disagree with this one. Dan Fouts.
That's one of the two that I was gonna talk about. One of the 2 teams I wanted to disagree on because, yeah, I kind of want to give it to Dan Fouts. They both had great statistical years, and Dan Fouts took them to the 79. No, wait, it was the 80. Yeah, 80 title game and the 81 title game. They had a lot of good years in the late 70s, early 80s. Kind of had almost a resurgence in '87 until they kind of tanked like the Colts did this season. But yeah, I want to go with Fouts on that one. Although I don't want to discount Rivers. Rivers is a future Hall of Famer.
Is he?
Yeah, Phillip Rivers is a future Hall of Famer. He had a great career.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, I don't disagree that he should be, but I still think, even though it's gotten better, we hang the rings thing. Like Dan Marino gets in because he's considered a generational quarterback. I don't know if Phillip Rivers, and it's not really Phillip Rivers' fault. He happened to be in an era. Well, I guess Dan Marino was also in an era with great quarterbacks, but it does feel like the 2000s is when the efficient quarterback became a thing. So it feels like almost every team had a great quarterback, even bad teams. I mean, I think he'll get in, but it will be 30 years from now. It'll be Veterans Committee.
I don't know, man. I really think he'll get in. Maybe not the first ballot, probably by second or third. I just think his numbers speak for itself. He was part of a great quarterback class in the '04 class with Roethlisberger and Eli Manning. So I don't know. I want to give him. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. Probably not first ballot.
Eli's on his second time, and he hasn't been able to get in, and he won 2 Super Bowls, and that's still the thing that everybody mashed him up, which is kind of funny because Phillip Rivers ended up in Chargers basically because Eli wouldn't go there. But man, Chargers really freaking lucked into that son of a bitch.
Big time.
Let's go to the AFC North, and this is where you get a couple of players. I'm sorry, one more. Pat Mahomes, Kansas City. That's an easy. Pat Mahomes. I love Lynn Dawson. I love Dave Craig, Joe Montana. His 2 years there was wonderful. If he doesn't get hurt that second year, I think we're talking about a different outcome. But at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes retires today, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I agree. He's 30 years old. He'll be 31 this year. And you can't forget about Trent Green and Alex Smith and their contributions to the Chiefs. But nah, all joking aside, you got to give it to Mahomes. Len Dawson would be the close second just because of his early success with the Chiefs in the 60s. Part of that last great team they had in the 70s before they kind of tailed off in the rest of the 70s and 80s. So, but yeah. Patrick Mahomes, easy.
In fact, I think I read something, and if I'm wrong, please let us know. But I think that Chiefs team that won that Super Bowl was the oldest roster to win a Super Bowl because they had been
the 69 Chiefs.
Yeah, because they had been so good in the AFL.
Dude, that makes a lot of sense because 2 years later, that was their last good year, and then they kind of just fell off.
Yep. All right, now let's go to the AFC North again. We got a couple guys that were even technically before me. I mean, I remember Ken Anderson late in his career, but we'll get to him. Baltimore, greatest quarterback of all time in their franchise, Lamar Jackson. Okay, yes, I guess.
Well, I'm just saying because Baltimore, the original Cleveland Browns franchise, which is the now Baltimore Ravens franchise, they decided to leave the history and everything in Cleveland. We're just going to judge Baltimore Ravens from so their inception in '96 until present. So now they just finished their 30th year in Baltimore. So yeah, Lamar Jackson easy
over Joe Flacco.
Over Joe Flacco, and Flacco has a Super Bowl. That just shows how dominant Lamar Jackson has been, even injured prone in his 8 seasons as quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens.
I think you kind of said it best. I think I'd love to see another meme of every NFL team's most successful quarterback. Because Joe Flacco,
but that one's more. You can support that by stats.
Well, but you can support it by rings. Joe Flacco, yeah. If most successful as a Raven, I would take Joe Flacco. He took him to the Super Bowl. Period. And won. One of them, and it's kind of the most what the hell year. Joe Flacco had one of the greatest postseason runs. Like if you wanted to rank a quarterback's postseason 1 year window, Joe Flacco was probably in the top 3 or 4. He was that good that year. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, just for what he is, and still, I'm like you, what he will be. Lamar Jackson's story has not been finished by any means. For the Cincinnati Bengals, this is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Anderson, who should be in the Hall of Fame, one of the most underrated quarterbacks, lost the Super Bowl, had the longevity, which is why I think he gets it over. What's his name?
Boomer Esiason and Joe Burrow.
Well, I just realized all 3 of them have went to a Super Bowl and lost.
And Boomer Esiason has an MVP.
And Boomer Esiason has an MVP the same year. But Boomer Esiason also had dropped off a cliff. Like he had a short window. I think I still give it to Ken Anderson simply as a placeholder until Joe Burrow's career finishes, as long as he stays in Cincinnati. If he ends up going somewhere else, then Ken Anderson, because Ken Anderson, that Super Bowl was at the end of Ken Anderson's career. Ken Anderson was one of the greatest quarterbacks in the 70s.
Yeah, no disagreement with me. Definitely Ken Anderson for the Bengals as of right now. And we're recording in 2026.
In 2026. The robots have not taken over. We did not elect a zombie yet as a president. All right, Otto Graham, Cleveland Browns. Sure. I mean, you haven't been to anything but an AFC title game since the creation of the Super Bowl. Otto Graham, they went to, I think, 10 straight championships. Now, some of these were in another league. I don't care. It still counts. You could make the case for Bernie Kosar. Brian Sipe. You can make the case for him in the 70s, the Cardiac Kids, all that.
1980 MVP.
Yeah, 1980 MVP. But at the end of the day, Otto Graham, man, I mean, that dude was doing future stuff we do now. They were running that shit back then. I'll have to send you the video. And I might have already sent you because it's an old one. But I watched Otto Graham and Norm Van Brocklin. People do not give those two enough respect when it comes to what they were doing route-wise in their minds. Like they were bringing the slot guy and saying, hey, just take a 2-yard turn. I'll dump it. You run 60 yards.
Automatic Otto Graham played 10 seasons. The Browns made it to the championship of their league, all 10 seasons. They won 7 championships. A Hall of Famer. It's easy. He was one of those guys like him and Sammy Baugh, slinging Sammy Baugh. They kind of made the forward pass cool. This is one of the easiest ones. I mean, all respect to Bernie Kosar, who helped the Cowboys win during the '93 season, another Super Bowl. So I like Bernie Kosar, but yeah, you got to go with Automatic Otto.
All right, and then here's one of the biggest debate points for the Pittsburgh Steelers: best quarterback of all time. This has Big Ben Roethlisberger. I get it. Again, a different era. As someone who used to do the argument of Bradshaw wasn't that good, I have, as I've grown and really watched and really studied, completely changed my mind on that. This should be Terry Bradshaw.
You know, the funny thing is, Pittsburgh and Miami's rankings are basically mirror images.
Yeah.
Because whoever put this ranking together, they went off of stats and just like a field test.
And there's nothing wrong with that actually, again, technically, if we're just talking about the best quarterback, the guy who was the most physical, best quarterback, a ring shouldn't matter. But
oh no, I agree. I'm just saying, with both Bob Greasy and Terry Bradshaw, they were both game managers early in their career. toward the end of their career, they developed more of a deep threat passing game. They were more known for their great passing abilities toward the late. Like Terry Bradshaw was an MVP in the late '70s. They won those. The first two Super Bowls were not Terry Bradshaw. That was a defense and Franco Harris and Blyer. The last two Super Bowls were all Bradshaw.
But you can make the case that Big Ben's first Super Bowl wasn't him. He was terrible.
Correct. Correct.
Do you know who had the worst Super Bowl win before Big Ben? Terry Bradshaw.
Against the Vikings, yeah. This was a 16-6 game, I think it was.
And I think Sam Darnold and Bob Greasy are right below both of them because, again, Minnesota. Again, we're going to talk about Minnesota here a little bit. I love Frank Tarkenton, but why does nobody talk about that? For the 3 Super Bowls he was in, their offense sucked like terrible. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. I agree. I do still think it should be Terry Bradshaw. All right, let's go to the AFC South. The Houston Texans, again, 2002. I know a lot of people will say Deshaun Watson because the short window when he wasn't getting massages, or we at least didn't know about it, he was great. But I actually agree with this list. Matt Schaub right now, to me, is the best Houston Texans quarterback in their history.
Yeah, this just kind of shows how kind of plagued that position has been. I mean, CJ Stroud, he's in year 3, and he's kind of regressed every single year. A lot of people want to give him the benefit of the doubt, say it's the offensive line, but even in those the 2 playoff games during the 2025 season, it almost kind of seems like it's all Stroud causing those turnovers. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Matt Schaub as of 2026.
You know, that's a good talk for another show is how bad the quarterback play was in the playoffs this year.
I want to say it was historically bad, and that's why someone like Sam Darnold came in and won a Super Bowl. Third shot, the number 3, very magical, 33rd.
So, you know, one of the things I think Matt Schaub, I think he gets kind of underrated. Like, he threw for 136 touchdowns and 91 interceptions, and that's with a couple years at the end that he was just absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, there was that one year where every week for about 4 or 5 weeks he was throwing a pick 6. It was just so unlucky. It was a great Houston defense. It's just he kept turning the ball over and he kept just shooting them in the foot.
Yeah, that was that 2013 year where they had to bench him. But I mean, before that, he led the league in passing. He was second in touchdowns twice. I think Matt Schaub is one of those that he was a little too early for the Texans when their defense started becoming what they were. If you could have gotten, 09 Houston Matt Schaub with the 2013 team, you might be talking about a team that was in the playoffs because that defense was starting to lock down. Andre Johnson was still at the they still were good. But anyway,
yeah.
It just, again, like you said, it shows how weak the Texans quarterback has been in the last 20 years, 25 years. All right, for the Colts, this is easy. Peyton Manning. I mean, they're even
wow.
Burt Jones won MVP. His problem was he could never stay healthy. If he stays healthy, he might be in the discussion. Burt Jones was special, dude. Everybody, go type in.
Getting a very obvious one.
Who?
Johnny Unitas.
Yeah, but
come on, 58 championship game, the game that kind of made the NFL, no, I'm not saying the most popular sport in America, but it started leaning into that direction. It was on TV. It was an overtime game. Johnny U, man, come on.
I think the problem with Johnny U is he's in and I'm not saying this is fair or not because we literally have talked about Otto Graham and we're going to talk about a couple other quarterbacks that weren't really in the Super Bowl era. But I think that's the thing that hurts him. He wasn't in the Super Bowl era. When he technically beat Dallas in that Super Bowl and he was terrible.
He played against the Jets toward the end in the 68 championship game. He was injured most of the season, came back, but their backup quarterback became, one of the best quarterbacks during the 68 season. And they had that was a team that was a missing ring team. I think they were the Baltimore Colts in 1968, FYI. They were, I think, 13-1, steamrolling through the season. It was a foregone conclusion that the Colts were going to beat the Jets in Super Bowl III, and Jets came out with a good defensive game plan and a ball control offense. Unitas came in late and scored a touchdown, but yeah. So technically, Unitas had played in 2 Super Bowls, but it was toward the end of his career. I agree with you.
And again, I just think with Manning, with everything. I mean, Manning was both of them were. Again, this is India. Look, for all the weirdness of the Colts, and they've only won one Super Bowl. They've had some great quarterbacks, like Andrew Luck. Like if they'd have just protected him, he'd still be playing. The Colts might have had 3 or 4 Super Bowls.
You mean one Super Bowl in the Manning era, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry, with the Manning winning
No,
one.
no.
Sorry.
I also don't want to talk about Super Bowl 5. I agree with you there.
So damn you. Damn you now. Now I got to go watch that and watch Chuck Howley throw his helmet down the field.
Super Bowl MVP.
But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's Manning. All right, for Jacksonville. Again, this is an odd one. This program, this franchise has been around now since '95. They've had some good quarterbacks, but at the end of the day, Mark Brunell's still the greatest quarterback. Now, Trevor is starting to kind of come back into the conversation. Boy, that mofo looked like a franchise quarterback this year. And if he continues to build on that, but it's still Mark Brunell right now.
It is Mark Brunell right now. And hey, Duval, Liam Cohen figured out Trevor Lawrence toward the second half of this past season. I had Lawrence in the MVP discussion by the end of the season, and he was really good even in the playoff loss.
Yep. And the crazy thing about it, man, is it was the Romo. Hey, what if we don't throw so much? What if we let Travis Etienne finally cook? This felt like the first year since his rookie year that Jacksonville let Travis Etienne be Travis Etienne. And look at what he did. Make a case he should have been an all-pro because of his receiving and rushing stats. He definitely was a fantasy football championship. All right, let's go to the Tennessee/Houston Oilers. It's Warren Moon. I love you, Steve McNair. But if you're going to tie the Titans to the Oilers, which historically they are, it's Warren Moon.
His ex-girlfriend doesn't love Steve McNair, though. Anyway, yeah, I agree. Warren Moon, I can't believe I forgot to mention this before, but yeah, Warren Moon for sure is the Houston Oilers/Tennessee Titan best quarterback.
I feel like the guy, obviously the people that made this list know historical quarterbacks. I feel like they just kind of had to go with Steve McNair because he played most of his career as a Titan, even though he did play 4 years as a Oiler.
Yeah, but like an example with the Cleveland Browns/Baltimore Ravens, the original Brown franchise left the history back in Cleveland. So we're judging Baltimore from 96 forward.
Exactly.
The Tennessee Titans did not. Well, yeah, they didn't leave. They took the Houston Oiler history with them. So you have to factor in that Houston Oiler history with it.
Exactly. All right, let's flip over to the NFC. Nope, we're not doing the East yet. Say last. Let's go to the NFC South. We'll rise again. I'm sorry. God, ooh. Allergies, brother. My fault. My God.
Can't take the marshal out of the boy.
Woo. Woo. Anyway, in AFC South, Matt Ryan. Okay. Got him to a playoff. I mean, to a Super Bowl. Yep. Should have won that Super Bowl. I don't blame Matt Ryan for that Super Bowl loss at all. That was just, I know everybody wants to put blame on Atlanta, but sometimes you just got to give the other team their flowers. The Patriots never gave up. They came back. Give them credit. But man, Steve Bartkowski, like he won't get the accolades because, again, in the 70s specifically, all-pro quarterback. Like, here's a funny stat we'll talk about later. Roger Staubach was never an all-pro quarterback. Roger Staubach is considered one of the top 10 quarterbacks by most people in the history of the NFL. Never won an all-pro because it was harder to win all-pros back then for quarterbacks because it wasn't always about stats. I'm fine with Matt Ryan. I'm just saying Steve Bartkowski should be in the talk.
He should be the talk. Controversial subject here, but I think Michael Vick should be in the talk as well for how he revolutionized the position.
100%. 100%. Man, again, Atlanta, weirdly, they've had a couple of good quarterbacks.
And hey, one of my favorites, Bobby A. Bear.
Hey, how about that, man? We're gonna run that play right here now. We're gonna go up to that Cajun thing over there. We're gonna throw left. All right. They should have just had Bobby Hebert play as water boy. I loved as a kid in East Texas watching Houston, the Cowboys, and the Saints. I loved Saints Sunday night show on ABC. It was, and Dallas does the same thing. They do it on the radio and then they put it up on the internet now. But it's just the play-by-play guy goes down to the locker room and talks to players. And they bring them out and, hey, Bobby, Tough loss against the Niners. It was 21-19. I about to tell you what about that Charles Haley, man. He just been in the backfield all day. Just been in the backfield all damn day. I mean, like Jameis Winston once said, I was a crab leg to Charles Haley.
I can't imagine Bobby Hebert saying that back in the early 90s, but okay.
He-
Another missing ring, 91 Saints. If he didn't get hurt, I think they actually might have had a chance to win a playoff game at the very least.
I agree with you on that one. Bobby Hebert is a friend on Facebook. You know, all these famous people just accept all. I want to make that a short and tag him. All right, for Carolina, this is easy. Cam Newton. I want to say this. I can't say that Cam Newton's a Hall of Famer, but I think his resume for being a Hall of Famer is better than what people think. I know. Everybody's going to point to the fumble in the Super Bowl and how he reacted. Dude, that is one of the most unfairest things. Like that is just a physical flinch, a reaction. He goes to dive. He doesn't want to get crushed as he dives. I get it. But people have put that on like an albatross around his neck for his career. And I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, I don't think that's fair either. I loved watching Cam Newton play, especially that 2015 season where the Panthers were 15-1. He was the MVP. I remember, Panthers came into Arlington and destroyed the Cowboys that season. But it was when Romo got hurt, and then we just kind of tanked the rest of the season. But
and then when was Cam still the quarterback when one of the years when they opened in Carolina and got beat?
I don't remember what year it was.
I think it was. I think they started out pretty strong.
Yeah. So Cam Newton, the problem with him is I think he might. I don't know if he'll get in the Hall of Fame. I still think he was a really good quarterback, but getting injured to open the 2016 season, that shoulder never healed. If you saw what he was in 2015, just judge him by that, because he didn't. I don't even think he completed 60% of his passes in 2015. But with mid wide receivers and solid at best running backs, he relied on Greg Olsen so much, and he just commanded. I haven't seen a quarterback command an offense like that so steadily, so slowly in a long time. To be honest with you, he was in control of that whole field.
I hate that team didn't win the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm glad that Denver won because DeMarcus Ware and all. But man, I really enjoyed watching that character, and I love people always want to try to. And yes, it can be framed in a race thing. They always want to act like Cam Newton wasn't important to that team and all, but you listen to Luke Kuechly and you listen to Greg Olsen literally is like, I'm going to probably get in the Hall of Fame because of Cam Newton. And you listen to Luke Kuechly talk about how smart he was and how he would come to the Carolina defensive meetings and say, hey, look, this is what their offense is doing. This is what these are your tails. And Luke said, that's why he goes, everybody says I'm the smartest linebacker in the league. He says, it's Cam Newton. Cam Newton was helping me. He was literally saying, this is what they're going to do. So I feel like and part of it's because he's very brash now on podcasts and stuff. And so a lot of people like to, bitch about that. But I hope someday people have a realization that Cam Newton was a damn good quarterback whose career got cut short because of injuries.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of crap on Newton for his takes on his podcast, but
I agree with a lot of them. I ain't gonna lie. I don't agree with all of them, but I tend to be like, okay, I see your point.
I really think 2011 to 2015, some of the best quarterback play you'll see, especially that 2015 season. He was slow and methodical, and then he would just hit you deep to Ted Ginn. He would hit you to the sideline to Greg Olsen. He had complete command of that offense. And I just love the way he played that season. I have no real opinion about his podcast or his tastes, but his playing ability, I really think, I really liked in 2020 when the Patriots signed him, because I really thought he could do well, but that shoulder just wasn't there anymore.
All right. For the Saints, this is easy, Drew Brees. Archie Manning, maybe for nostalgia. And I will say, okay, Archie Manning, unfortunately, just never was with a good team. But even his stats, though, aren't great. It's not like Archie Manning was statting out with great stats and still losing. So, to me, this is easy, Drew Brees.
Yeah, easy, Drew Brees. Bobby Hebert is probably the close second at this point. Yeah, I can't really think of anybody else that kind of compares to him and Archie Manning.
He wasn't there long. Oh, Aaron Brooks.
Yeah, Aaron Brooks. Yeah, so Aaron Brooks was the quarterback for the Saints from 2000 to 2003, 4, 5.
You're
He led them to their first playoff win in franchise history in 2000 against the defending champion Rams.
I always in my mind thought Deuce McAllister was in that game, and he wasn't.
I think he might have got hurt for the year that
No,
season.
I don't think he was a rookie till the next year.
I remember. Oh, yeah, it might have been the next year because I remember Ricky Williams got to 1,000 yards that season, and then he got hurt. I think he almost got right at 1,000 yards, and then they signed Terry Allen off the streets, and he finished the season for them as their starting running back.
And he had a great few games. That was a fun team. That was a fun team. But I mean, Aaron Brooks doesn't. But he's another what if. All right, now this is the interesting one for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, greatest quarterback of all time. The problem with Tampa Bay is, they were atrocious for so long. They started out terrible, had a 4-year window when they had maybe the greatest defense nobody remembers, but were terrible offensively, and then went back into being just a shit franchise forever, then got good, won a Super Bowl because of the defense, then went to shit again, and then won a Super Bowl because of the quarterback. So by proxy, Tom Brady gets established as the best quarterback. I still would say just overall because of how long he played and in a time, but I have to say that Doug Williams was terrible for Tampa in the playoffs. He was great on the field in the regular season. Well, for what they did, it's Tom Brady, but it's kind of like by default.
Yeah, I'd say Tom Brady by default. I mean, the Buccaneers tried in the 70s. They lost their first 26 games. Finally, by their fourth season,
Drafted on defense. Got the Selman brothers. Got that. I can't think of the name of the linebacker. Not Hardy Nickerson. That was a few years later. But a great. I mean, they had one of the best defenses. They just couldn't score.
The 79 season, they were, I think, the 2 seed, but they kind of benefited. And this is a season I really want to review because the 79 season reminds me of kind of this season where it was just the 2025 season where there's a lot of parity, especially in the NFC. Anyone really could have come out. The Cowboys were 11-5, and they were the 1 seed. And but Tampa ended up making it to the NFC title game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their 4th season, after losing their first 26 games to start their franchise, it was unbelievable. But with Doug Williams, I don't even think he completed 50% of his passes, and it kind of showed in the title game where they lost at home to the Rams 9-0. Very ugly game. But yeah, even though Brady played 3 seasons, and I'd say his last season was not good, you got to give it to the GOAT, Tom Brady. Brad Johnson, Sean King, Trent Dilfer, Craig Erickson. I'm trying to think of other. Vinny Testaverde, Steve Young. There was a lot of other. Tampa tried to have a good quarterback, and they just never worked out.
All right.
I'm sorry, famous Jameis Winston, your favorite player.
30 for 30. Hey, in baseball, they get you in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
All right, so I want to jump. I want to jump to this one because this is one of the most interesting. I don't think a lot of people, have thought about this. But let's talk Detroit.
Already know. Go ahead.
Well, do you know? No, though. So it's Matthew Stafford or Bobby Lane.
Yep.
2 Texans. 2 Highland Park football players. Both
Bobby Lane went to Highland Park?
He wasn't born in Dallas. He was born, I think, in Santa Ana. But yes, he played high school football with Highland Park. In fact, he is part of the team that was playing the Mighty Mites, the Masonic Home, a great book that was wrote in a terrible movie about. We have to watch that movie. Okay, it's not terrible. It's just anyway. We'll talk about that down the road.
Okay.
Yeah. So I still contend. First off, Matt Stafford is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Matthew Stafford is one of the greatest quarterbacks in his era. I still would put Bobby Lane right here.
Yep, and I would do it based off of the 50s, the championships, and the curse that he brought when he left the team.
When they traded him, you will not win a Super Bowl as long as I'm around. Did he say as long as I'm around or something like that? And they haven't won a Super Bowl. In fact,
their last championship was 57. They haven't won since.
Super Bowls they've went to. Oh. As they do in Shaun of the Dead. Favelu. But yeah, I do. And look, Matt, if you want Matthew Stafford, I'm perfectly fine with that. Let's be fair. as much as everybody wants to talk about did Dez catch it or not, if you want to do that, then you have to go to the game before and go, that should have been called a pass interference. I used to defend it. The more I watch it, I go, okay, yeah, that should have been a pass interference. That doesn't mean Detroit would have officially won, but that would have been really, really tough for Dallas. You know what I'm talking about, right? The pass interference.
Yeah, the wild card game the week before against the Lions. Yeah.
Punt and Dallas drives down. But anyway, all right. Green Bay.
They have been blessed with outstanding quarterbacks.
I mean, even in their down years, you had Lynn Dickey, very underrated quarterback who just could not stay healthy. I mean,
a couple of years you had the Magic Man, Don Mikowski.
Yeah, Don Mikowski, of course, Brett Favre, of course, Bart Starr.
But like with the Dolphins and the Steelers, the Packers went. Whoever did this did it with the statistical king, and honestly, I thought that was Brett Favre. But be honest, I mean, Aaron Rodgers kind of surpassed Brett Favre as far as like the top 5 years for Aaron Rodgers, I think, are better than Brett Favre's top 5 years. And that's not a discount on Brett Favre. Brett Favre's a 3-time MVP, and he's won a Super Bowl and went to another. So I'm not discounting Brett Favre. But honestly, if you're going to go off of success, Bart Starr won 5 championships. I'm sorry. You got to get him in there.
He gets lumped into the Bradshaw where it was the defense and the running game. I mean, this is a guy that in his career – threw 152 touchdowns and 138 interceptions. And again, different era. I'm not saying it's not.
Because okay, if that's the logic, then we're gonna have a very interesting conversation when we come to the Cowboys.
Oh, we already are gonna have a very interesting conversation when we come to Cowboys. I mean, it's real simple. Quincy.
Oh, then we both agree. Okay,
yeah, we both agree. It's perfectly fine. All right, but look, I have no problem if you to put Brett Favre, if you put Aaron Rodgers, if you to put Bart Starr. There's no some of these teams. I don't think there's a wrong answer, if that makes sense. Minnesota, Fran Tarkenton. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Cap was an MVP in '69, but he wasn't in the league for long. Fran Tarkenton. It's kind of, Kramer was a solid quarterback for the late in the '80s. McMahon was there for a year. Warren Moon's there for a couple years. Brad Johnson a couple years. Cunningham had that amazing '98 season. Then Dante Culpepper. Those are the only ones I can really think of off the top of my head. I know there was others, but like Gus Frerotte for a year. But yeah, it has to be Fran Tarkenton. I'm sorry.
I mean, what about Kirk Cousins?
He played what 6 seasons?
Yeah.
Didn't he make it to 3 Super Bowls like Fran Tarkenton did?
No, but did he shit the bed in 3 Super Bowls like Fran Tarkenton did?
Fair point, sir.
I like Fran. Fran, just again, before my time, but it was one of those that whenever he had retired, first off, he was on TV and he was terrible. Him and Roger Staubach both were just terrible. But he was one of those guys that he retired. How to say this? He hadn't been retired long enough, so whenever they talked about like one quarterback, they would reference Fran, and because people don't remember when Fran retired, he basically owned like almost every offensive stat record a quarterback could. He was the most decorated quarterback outside of winning a Super Bowl of all time at one point. Now, of course, those have been chopped into different quarterbacks now, so people need to remember that. All right, now here we go. We go up to the NFC West, and this is where it gets interesting.
Whoa. Chicago Bears, sir.
Yeah, Chicago can't throw 4,000 yards.
Almost this year, barely off.
I thought he was going to get it. Like, God dang, guys, like break that barrier. By the way, I'm going to say it now. When he retires, Caleb Williams will be the greatest Bears quarterback. I don't think that's big of a break.
As long as Ben Johnson or his disciple stays as the Bears quarterback. And maybe he's already been unlocked because he made some ridiculous throws this season. I agree with you. A lot of stuff happened that really helped his development. Ben Johnson, new head coach. Joe Thuney, who got the award for best lineman this year. It's a new award that was created, which I'm perfectly fine with. He's a future Hall of Famer, won a bunch of Super Bowls with the Chiefs. Yeah, and he barely got under 4,000 yards just because Ben Johnson had a great line. So he just started running Kyle Monungai and DeAndre Swift over and over again. Which
DeAndre Swift was like a different back than he was a year ago.
Much different back, way different than he was with the Lions.
But when was he great with the Lions? With Ben Johnson as his offensive coordinator. I will say this: dare I say this? Caleb Williams is Brett Favre now. Just go to that playoff game. Threads the needle on one of the greatest throws in playoff history, folks. And then in the overtime drive, throws an interception. Now, it wasn't a bad interception like Minnesota Brett against the Saints, when literally I can still to this day remember that play as it's developing. I'm going, oh God, don't throw it, Brett. And he threw it, and it's an interception. It wasn't that bad, but he still threw an interception in the OT. I think Caleb Williams is, I said it when he came out. I think the dude's going to be special. And I think we're seeing that step. And I love Ben Johnson talking about when they were going, OTAs are going to be happening in a couple months. And they were talking about, like, what is all the guys doing? And he goes, all I know is Caleb just keeps emailing me about film and about this and about that. I think Caleb Williams is a future MVP.
Well, Caleb Williams did say, like, that was a complaint he had about Eberflus and that staff. He wanted to learn. He just didn't feel like that environment was conducive for learning. And that's where he got frustrated his rookie year. So Ben Johnson coming in, Caleb Williams was very excited because he had a offensive nerd like Ben Johnson, who was also kind of psychotic as well. Johnson will dial up those crazy plays. Just, that is why him and Dan Campbell work so well in Detroit. They're both equally nuts.
Remind myself to, when we do this short, to put Henry Winkler up on Waterboy when he's throwing the plays on the. No, we're gonna fake. No, we're gonna fake that we're faking.
That's Ben Johnson.
All right, let's go to the NFC West, and is this the only? Oh no, I'm sorry, the Patriots and Bucks too. The only two have the same guy. Let's just talk about them in one: the Rams and the Cardinals. For the Rams, I think Matt Stafford's getting really close. Like, he's won a Super Bowl.
Yeah. He just finished year 5, which is, I think, longer than Kurt Warner there. So I actually would say Matt Stafford at this point.
I really would. But now I get why you have. I mean, Kurt Warner won an MVP as a Ram. Matt Stafford didn't. No, he did.
Kurt Warner won MVP in 99. Matt Stafford just won an MVP.
So that's what I'm saying. He just won it. So literally, they have the same resume.
Yeah. I would change Warner to Stafford for the Rams. I also love it. It's both in the same division, so it's kind of funny to see Warner's face right next to each other.
Yeah.
Definitely. Even the Cardinals, just to get the Cardinals franchise to a Super Bowl is a miracle. And it wasn't even a good team. They were 9-7. They just played in a terrible division. Got lucky and got, I think, maybe the 4th seed, but probably the 3rd seed. I can't remember.
But can't you make the case? And I know he's the guy throwing it, but Larry Fitzgerald got them to the Super Bowl. Larry Fitzgerald almost single-handedly won the Super Bowl. To me, and I've told you this many times, Larry Fitzgerald is my favorite all-time non-Cowboy. He surpassed Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell, that's a guy that from my area, played at college I love to watch. Played
Rose.
Oilers. I love Houston or the Oilers. But Larry, I just loved watching him. And I genuinely was sad when they lost that Super Bowl because what he did that year. And then in like the next playoffs he was in, he almost did the same thing. Man, Larry Fitzgerald. You want to talk about Jerry Rice? That might be it. We might have to, I want to build some data. That's going to have to be a short. Jerry Rice, Larry Fitzgerald.
They're like 1 and 2 in a lot of the wide receiver stats. I was going to say the 2009 season for the Cardinals, that was Kurt Warner's last. They were 10-6. I think they won the division again. They had that epic overtime win against the Packers at home. I think it was like 51-45.
Yeah, all the offense, and then the game ends on a sack, fumble, and scoop and score. That's why I love football, man. The defense, that won the game, gave up like 700 total yards and 45 points, but they single-handedly beat the Packers that game.
I was going to say, all due respect to Jim Everett and Vince Ferragamo. And I'm trying to think of that one really good quarterback for the Rams in the 70s. The Rams in the 70s were really good. They had several quarterbacks, but I remember one that was really good. I just, off the top of my head, I can't remember. But yeah, I'm going to go with Stafford for the Rams.
Yeah, I agree. And again, if you have Warner, I get it. But I think Stafford has already reached, and he doesn't have a Super Bowl loss with the Rams like Kurt Warner does. For the Niners, it's Joe Montana. Look, I get it. I get we could say, well, what about Steve Young? I know Steve Young won an MVP.
Brody.
Yeah.
Also an MVP.
Also an MVP, but he also got if rings, because sometimes in this list rings are an issue. He couldn't get past Dallas. Like that was the thing; they could not get past Dallas in the early '70s. And I just think, I mean, Joe Montana is still, until Tom Brady. Joe Montana was basically considered the greatest quarterback to ever play. Right or wrong? I'm just saying.
Oh no, I agree with you 100%. I'm just wanted to throw out other options. Yeah, the greatest quarterback of all time before Tom Brady. You definitely he has to be on this list or else.
Roman Gabriel. That's who you're thinking of. Sorry,
Yes, thank you very much, Roman Gabriel.
I had to. Man, they've had some pretty good history. We're gonna have to do the rankings of positions by franchise, because that's where it gets fascinating. All right, let's go to Seattle. Ooh, okay, I get it. Dude won a Super Bowl, went to another Super Bowl. Totally get all that. But man, Jim Zorn.
You have to stop thinking about Russell Wilson after 2021.
Yeah, I know, but Matt Hasselbeck. I mean,
Great career. Jim Zorn. The Seattle Seahawks had a great run of court. They had Warren Moon for a couple of years for the Seattle Seahawks.
yeah,
Was really good.
Yeah, and Matt, he unfortunately gets well known for the "we're going to take the ball and win" thing that hurts him. But I mean, he took him to a Super Bowl that they probably should have won.
Yeah, and I was always crapping on that '05 Seahawk team, but in that Super Bowl, I think they should have won. I was crapping on them because when the Cowboys played them in '05, the Cowboys were in control of that game in Seattle, and then Parcells was just going to park the bus and make it a very defensive.
Screenplay safety. Again, everybody wants to blame Romo for the slip of the snap. That's fine. That's worthy. But Bill Parcells decided in Seattle to park the bus against a team that literally their whole secondary was injured so bad that they brought on Pete Hunter, a former failed cornerback for Cowboys, to start a playoff game. That Seattle team is one of the worst teams to go to the Super Bowl. That Pittsburgh team, that's another fascinating year, because the best teams did not make the Super Bowl that year for either side. Even though, how is Pittsburgh always so almost undefeated but terrible at the same time? Both with Big Ben, oddly enough.
Okay, well, '04 they were 15-1 and lost to the Patriots in the championship game.
Great game. That was a great game.
The '05 Steelers, I think they were 7-5, and then finally caught fire.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the 15-1 year. They won ugly.
Yeah.
Like, Big Ben gets all the credit because he's the rookie quarterback, blah, 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 but they were ugly. And then in what, 2020?
Oh yeah, they started 11-0.
The Cowboys should have beat them with former
Gilbert.
Yeah, Garrett Gilbert.
Yeah.
Former Garrett Gilbert came out and had a 2-score lead, and again some weird calls and all. Anyway, that's not the point. I'm sorry, that season didn't happen. All right,
we're gonna start nerding out here.
All right, here we go. Let's go to the NFC East, but not Dallas. Let's start with Washington. Sammy Slinging just passed away. Ball. I think he passed away, what, like 2 or 3 weeks ago? Look, I love Sammy Ball. I have no problem with that. I will say, though, man, my mom will love me for this. Joe Theismann is underrated.
Very much so.
Theismann should be in the Hall of Fame.
Washington had a plethora of really good quarterbacks. They had Slinging Sammy here, and then you had Kilmer. You had Sonny Jurgensen, the Hall of Famer.
My mom loved. That's why my mom. So for people that don't know, I know we say this all the time, but you always, first thing you're taught in media is you always are talking to the new people. My dad is a huge Cowboy fan. My mom's a huge Washington fan. My mom became a Washington fan, because she just was like, well, everybody's Cowboy fans. I want to be different. And she loved watching Sonny Jurgensen play, because Sonny Jurgensen was the type that's literally warming up smoking a cigarette. He was never in shape. He threw a duck every play, but damn it, that duck always found where it was supposed to go.
Yeah, I think he had a beer gut most of his career.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many good, like, even for a short period of time from the late '80s to early '90s, Mark Ribbon was a solid quarterback.
Schrader, Doug Williams.
Dougie Williams broke the.
Schrader was a great quarterback for a year.
First black quarterback to be Super Bowl MVP. First black quarterback to win a Super Bowl.
Jay Schrader was white, dude. I'm gonna say though, what hurts Joe Theismann is Mark Rippon and Doug Williams won Super Bowls. So it became more of it was Joe Gibbs in the system. But
Yeah.
I am telling you, as a Cowboy fan, outside of a few games like the Happy Birthday game, which I wasn't old enough, people also forget how long Joe Theismann played. Like people think, oh, he started like in 80. No, he was a quarterback in the 70s for the Redskins. I mean, he was the guy there for the 77, the 78, the 79, the classic games. I'm fine with Sammy Ball. I just feel like Joe Theismann is an
I,
under.
like, hey, I will give him his flowers, Ball and Graham for the Browns. They popularized the forward the forward pass in the NFL, made it cool. So for him, I'm okay with this. He's a great legendary quarterback. I'm actually okay with it. Theismann probably should be someone that should get more love in this. But yeah, Sammy Ball is fine.
All right, let's go to the Eagles, and this is interesting because you have a guy playing now who has been to a Super Bowl and lost, has been to a Super Bowl and won. We can talk about what he's done in the regular season, but as you and I noted when we talked about him or Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts plays great in the Super Bowls, even in the one he lost. Though I will say, it's amazing how everybody wants to blame Cam Newton and his fumble, but nobody talks about Jalen Hurts is absolutely one of the worst mistakes in NFL Super Bowl history, literally just dropping the ball as he's running. But they go with Donovan McNabb. I'm conflicted on Donovan McNabb because Donovan McNabb is one of the key, man, when he was on, he was amazing. But when he wasn't, he was terrible. Like week to week, he'd be like, okay, against Dallas, he was 20 of 25 for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. The next week against Washington, 9 of 26 for 70 yards and 3 interceptions. So it's really hard to put his career in a box because it's all over the place.
Well, okay, here's the picks for the Eagles. You have Norm Van Brocklin, you have Ron Jaworski, Randall Cunningham, Donovan McNabb, Jalen Hurts, and consistently, to a lesser extent, Carson Wentz.
What about oh God, Dad, go ahead.
I knew you about to say something stupid. I already know it.
No,
Ty
it's
Detmer.
brother from Texas. Both Ty and Coy both played for the Eagles at one point and freaking won. Like I still remember them going into Dallas in that 05 season and beating Dallas like 10-6. And Dittmer threw for like 60 yards. And that's all he needed. But anyway, I got Norm Van Brocklin still. Norm Van Brocklin, and I know he didn't do it all with the Eagles, but Norm Van Brocklin was one of those guys like Otto Graham that was miles ahead of what the game was at the time.
I'll stick with McNabb, but
No problem with that.
I like the Norm Van Brocklin pick by you because we all know the Packers are the team of the 60s. Well, they went to the championship game in 1960 and they lost to the Eagles in Norm Van Brocklin's last game.
Yep. I've watched that on the Greatest Games series that NFL Films did. I really wish they'd bring that back. You can find them all on NFL or on YouTube. Like I don't know if they'd go with the duel in Dixie anymore. Atlanta versus the Cowboys, that famous game in 1980 when Danny White brought them back. I love that series because it's the whole game, but it's broken down into like an hour and a half, and then you have players from both sides commenting on the game. And this was done like in the 90s, so it was still fresh on their memory. So anyway, I really enjoy that. All right, let's go to the New York Giants. And boy, this is one of those, like, I get it. I know. He won 2 Super Bowls. He beat the greatest dynasty in the world in the New England Patriots, but Eli Manning is not the best quarterback of all time for the New York Giants.
Well, if you're going to make that comment, then who would you say is?
Y.A. from Marshall, Texas, Tittle. Actually, he's in the conversation. You know who else is in the conversation? Phil Simms is in the conversation.
Phil the Thrill Sims, yeah. I was going to say Phil Simms, but Y.A. Tittle is a big throwback, and I would not disagree with that one.
Dave Brown, Danny Connect. No,
the 90s Giants after Sims retired, it was some dark days. Thank God for Kerry Collins in the 2000s.
That's so weird. You're right though. Like, the Giants are one of those that, like, they've won multiple Super Bowls since the 2000. But when you really look at the history, man, Norm Snead, but he was well past this time. Fran Tarkenton, but that was before Fran Tarkenton became Fran Tarkenton. Earl Morrall, weirdly, I feel like there should be a backup quarterback Hall of Fame. It's Earl Morrall because that dude consistently stepped in. He won with the Colts, even though Johnny Unitas officially beat the Cowboys. He basically is why the Dolphins went undefeated in that year because Bob Greasy missed like 5 games, and he was like Ryan Fitzpatrick, but on winning teams. God, the Giants quarterback has been
nice analogy. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Phil Simms. You said Y.A. Tittle. I don't mind Eli Manning, but he was so average. But he does have this 2 Super Bowls, so you can't deny him that. I'm gonna go with Simms. I just love Simms. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks.
Simms' problem is he just couldn't stay healthy. That's all it was. He just was all. And Bill Parcells and him had a love-hate relationship. And I've always really respected how Bill has admitted I should have let the offense go more. Like he's a defensive coordinator like Buddy Ryan at the time that just wanted to win 13-6. But I appreciate after his football days, he was like, I was kind of dumb. I had this great defense. Why didn't we put the pedal to the metal and be more aggressive offensively because our defense would save us. Anyway, all right, that's it. Show's over. We're not going to talk anything else. That's it. You have a good day. No. All right, let's do it. Here we go. Every team's NFL's best quarterback all time, the Dallas Cowboys. They listed Roger Staubach. They're great. Roger the Dodger, Captain America, Roger Staubach. I have no problem with this. This is the right choice.
It is the right choice, but it's very inconsistent with the other picks because Miami and Pittsburgh, and I'm thinking there's another one, but I forgot. They picked based off of performance, like stats, based off of what they did. Because Staubach, he went to 5 Super Bowls. He won 2. I'm okay with that. I agree. Staubach is the greatest Cowboy quarterback. But if you can go off of stats, you might as well just put Tony Romo and Aikman up there. Really, Tony Romo.
Tony Romo. I mean, in fact, you could say Aikman was only because of rings. And I love Aikman. And I do believe there is a Troy Aikman if you give him to the Bills where he can run the K-gun or to Houston and run the run and shoot, you would have seen a different Troy Aikman. But he did what Dallas needed for him. And unfortunately for him, the last few playoff games ruined what was an amazing 5-year playoff run. Even the 96 team that beat Minnesota and lost to Carolina, he still had a good playoffs in that. Hell, people forget they scored 40 points against Minnesota in that game. But, I mean, Roger Staubach was the quarterback for a team that is not the team of the 70s, but that was a dynasty. I'm sorry, folks.
They went to more Super Bowls than the team of the 70s.
They went to more Super Bowls in a 10-year season, which is actually 11 seasons when you count 70. They went to the NFC title game 9 times. They missed the playoffs 1 time and then proceed to draft the best class in Dallas Cowboys and possibly NFL history with the Dirty Dozen. That was a dynasty, and Roger Staubach controlled the dynasty. The issue is because, again, I said this earlier, if you're just now joining us or if you're listening to this on a short, the weirdest thing is Roger Staubach never was an all-pro quarterback. Tom Landry had such a godlike figure to everyone in the NFL then. That's why linebackers from Dallas has had a hard time getting in the 70s because they all say, oh, that's just a 4-3. Landry just built that. The linebackers just had to stand there and make tackles. And they're not wrong, but we don't do that now. Nobody says that about, Ray Lewis. Well, Ray Lewis was only good because of the defensive coordinator, but they did in the 70s. Same thing with Roger Staubach. I still consider Roger Staubach the top 5 quarterback of all time.
I mean, I will say Ray Lewis wasn't as good when they switched to the 3-4. I mean, with the 4-3, you have Sam Adams and Tony Saragusa. God rest his soul. But anyway, you weren't even talking about that. You were talking about the Cowboys.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He didn't win an MVP. He didn't make All-Pro twice. It was MVP, I meant to say. I said that wrong. I meant MVP. And he should have been MVP at least a couple times in for the Cowboys. I mean, hell, you look at that first year when he finally became the full starter and they won a Super Bowl. He went 10-0.
Yep, undefeated. Yep.
There is a legitimate chance that if Tom Landry would have had the balls, and by the way, that was Landry's weakness as quarterbacks. It happened again in the 80s with Danny White and Pelluer, and it didn't work out for him that way. It worked out the first time. But if you had given Roger the ball week one, that team might have went undefeated. You and I talked about it when we did the look back. The 71 Cowboys do not get enough respect about how great they were. Like when when they did the American team and they ranked them, I think they were like 16th best at the time. And that was 20 years ago. You can make the case the 71 Cowboys are better than the 77 Cowboys.
Defensively, I think the 71 was far superior just because I could look at that entire 11-man starting lineup and tell you 9 of them were all pros.
That 71 or 78 was or 77 was so damn good too. That's the funniest thing about that era with the Cowboys is how the 71 and 77 defenses are completely different outside of Cliff Harris and Charlie Waters. Everybody else is completely new. All pros. That's why I think the players sometimes don't get the credit they deserve is because everybody looks at Tom Landry.
Okay. Staubach, Aikman, Romo, Dak. Rank them top 4.
Ranking the top 4 Dallas Cowboy quarterbacks of all time. Roger Staubach, number 1. Number 2, Tony Romo. Number 3, Troy Aikman. Number 4, Dandy Don Meredith.
I knew you were going to do Meredith. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
We'll finish in the top 4. Because I said this earlier. I think Dak has at least minimum 5 more years. Good years.
Of elite quarterback, yeah. And you know the thing is about this season, I'm glad that teams that don't even like the Cowboys, their analysts, their YouTube personalities, they're actually praising Dak for what he did this year. They think he's finally getting some of the flowers that he should have done. Kind of like with Romo in 2014.
That's what you said. That's what I said 2013 because I always go to that Bronco game. That's the game that I still to this day remember because that was back when I still watched NFL, the ESPN NFL show with Craig, and then the NFL NFL Network shows. And again, I famously fell asleep during that game and woke up, literally missed it all. Went back and rewatched it, but that was the first time I heard people saying, you know what, maybe Tony Romo's not the problem. I feel like this year that was for Dak. Maybe Dak's not the problem.
I had some friends tell me the same thing. They were complaining about the one interception Tony Romo threw. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Did Tony Romo allow 51 points by the Broncos? No? Oh, okay. Did Tony Romo throw 5 touchdowns? Oh, did he throw over 500 yards? Oh. Did he help me beat Terry that week in fantasy football? Oh.
Always remember.
Yeah, never forget, buddy.
And the thing with Dak, we should have got that in 2020. But he got hurt. Mm-hmm. We should have got that in 2024, but he got hurt. The defenses were both historically bad. Why in the last 5 years? The last 5 years, our defenses have been either holy shit stat-wise, even though structurally they weren't disciplined, or just batshit bad.
Yeah, very extreme. Yeah, I just want average every week.
I just want it 10-7 and make the playoffs. I don't need to be 14-3 and lose in your one game. Give me 10-7.
That would be a team record, 14 wins, by the way.
Would be. Go beat Minnesota in the playoffs on the first round, and then let's see what happens in the second. Like, golly. Anyway, anything else you want to talk
about? I mean, there's.
Oh
yeah. The NFLPA has their new score report, their report card, and the Dolphins finished first. And the Steelers finished last.
I haven't seen the whole list. I know.
Well, they can't publicly display it. I think right now
the whole list was leaked.
Oh, okay. I just know about the Dolphins and the Steelers. Maybe the Cardinals were up there somewhere. But yeah.
See all the results for look. So what we're talking about is the NFLPA has done a survey over the last few years, just basically asking as a player, what do you think of your franchise? Coaching, facilities, food, baby care, just anything. How do you vote them? And so for the last few years, they've been produced. Well, the NFL won. I don't really understand this arbitrator's decision, but I also don't know the contract that they signed. But the NFL won an arbitration that they can't release the list, except for this is what's going to happen every year. Oops, the list got leaked, and they're not going to be able to do anything about that. So here it is for all third. Let's go to the teams that are pertinent to us because of Texas. Dallas got a B for treatment of families, C for home field, home game field, so the turf. B for food and dining, B plus for nutritionists, B for training, locker room. Back to back times, their training room and training staff both got D's and C's. This has been the last couple of years one of the most injured Cowboy teams that we've had. So that kind of makes a little sense. Strength coaches A, position coaches B, offensive coordinator A, defensive coordinator C. I'm really surprised Matt Eberflus only got a C. Like it felt like that was going to be an F, or maybe they're going off now. Special teams coordinator B plus, travel C, head coach A, general manager B. Okay, team ownership B. All right, so that's pretty good. It doesn't say where that lists them, but that's top 10, easy. All right, Houston. Treatment of families B minus, home game field C plus, food A, nutritionist A, locker room B plus. We've been in those locker rooms. I've been in both, but you and I have been in the Houston locker rooms. Really cool. Training room A, training staff A, weight room A, strength coaches A, position coaches B, offensive coordinator A minus, defensive coordinator A, special teams coordinator A, team travel B minus, head coach A, general manager A, team ownership A, and then weirdly, Deshaun Watson wrote in massage therapist A plus. I don't know why I was saying that in Houston. Maybe he still lives there. I like this list. I think this is the way you keep owners' feet to the fire, because 4 years ago, Miami was F in almost everything. And their owner said, I'm going to fix this. And now, back-to-back years, they finished as number one. So to me, that's just one of those typical owners don't want to spend money if they don't have to. And so they don't want this list to expose them for that.
Especially the Rooney family, unfortunately. That's kind of a sad mark. I'm not being dramatic, but I mean that could be like a legacy definer right there. Like the one of the greatest football families of all time doesn't want to give back to their own team, and that's pretty telling.
Okay. I will say this for them. I think it's more of. I think it's more. I mean, I haven't looked at the breakdown of their like what it all is. I think a lot of that is their team practice facilities are kind of old. And it's in New York. I mean, it's not one of those things you can just, you just tear it down and rebuild. Like I don't think that they have purposely become cheap or anything. I think their facility is just outdated, and that's kind of what happened with Miami. And the owner admitted that, like, hey, yeah, we got outdated. We knew even before the report cards. I think the Giants just need to update that because
Steelers. I meant Steelers.
Well, same thing, exactly the same thing. I'm sorry, you're right. You're talking Steelers. Well, Giants finished slow too. They're like third worst. Steelers, same thing. I think
the Mara family, yeah, classic old school family and NFL royalty. Yeah, so I can see. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I wasn't sure what the Giants.
Whoa, you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm having some difficulty. Sorry, hold on. Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, your mic got attached. Real quick, hockey came back into play. Dallas won last night 4-1. I actually called that. Randomly, I'm on the Dallas Stars page. I'll probably do this as a reel. And somebody was like, oh my God, Mikko's out. Ottinger's out. Everybody's not playing. The Kraken's going to beat us. And I just simply put 4-1 Stars. And then I fell asleep last night. And like 3 a.m, I wake up and I look at the score and I'm like, damn it, why didn't I bet everything on that? Just 4-1. But anyway, hockey, man, my favorite time's coming up. The playoff rush. Man, hockey gets the bounce everybody thinks soccer will get whenever the women's wins the World Cup or the U.S. men's do good at the World Cup. They always say there's going to be this big bounce, and it never happens. Hockey always gets that big bounce.
We need to have a playoff watch party. And we need to do what we did. Yes. We need to do what we did back. Maybe it was a World Cup, but I remember we did a shot game. For every goal. God. And it was like a 7-1 game.
Yeah. That was the Brazil-Germany game.
It was soccer. I thought it was hockey. My bad.
Oh, no. It was World Cup soccer. It's when Germany beat Brazil over 7-1.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. We were at that over in Carrollton at that bar, and we did shots for goals. And again, that also we go back to the other 2 times. Shots for scores have always got us effed. The other one we always talk about was Dallas versus Cincinnati. Dallas couldn't pee a drop all game. We always would just do shots for scores, and we were like, F it. Let's do shots for first downs. This is so bad. And then they proceed to go on back-to-back drive. In fact, it was a record. Back-to-back drives of over 15 plays. And dude, we're talking about it was 5 yards first down, 5 yards first down, 5 yards first down. And we got so drunk. The other one was Rangers versus Detroit, ALCS, the Grand Slam game. We did shots for runs, and it was a 7-run inning. And I remember that was the very first time I ever tried to do an Uber or taxi from a place because I could. And it's funny because I live in Rowlett now. At the time, I lived in Garland, but we were in Rowlett, and I literally one of the few times my eyes actually crossed. I was so drunk.
Let's have another bad decision night.
Yeah, we gotta do it. We can do hockey. I would like to. I really would. I think this might be the Stars' year. They had a little bit of a swoon there for a minute, and then they picked back up. The depth, as long as Mikko can come back, what they're gonna do with Tyler's salary, I kind of hope they, unless he can, even if he could come back, I really kind of, because the rules have changed. You can't stash a player all year and then bring him back. But if you do put him on he can't play the rest of the year, you can use his salary for a trade. And I would rather get some more depth, but it'll be interesting to see. Didn't get any questions tonight. We got like 5,000 people. That's weird.
Well, I'm glad y'all were here, y'all.
Texas lost a split squad games of the Rangers. By the way, we're 28 days away from baseball starting.
Well, they already lost, so might as well look forward to 2027.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do this year.
We need to do a preview show.
Oh, we will. We're trying to bring back the Ranger show. Trying to find a couple sponsors for that. We're going to have some high school baseball shows here in a couple weeks. I'm trying to work with a couple of those guys to maybe sponsor some of the Ranger stuff. Again, just like last year, if the pitching staff stays healthy and they can score, I think the Rangers could be in the World Series, or they could only win 75 games. That's just
what a waste of a 2025 season. You had the greatest pitching performance in Ranger history
by far,
by country mile, and you can't hit for shit.
Yeah, and that's just the most un-Ranger thing of all. And the park just mysteriously became a terrible park to hit in. But we did get to see one of the greatest games of last year, though.
We did. Thank you again, you and your dad. Y'all treated me to that. That was my first extra inning game, my first walk-off home run game. So, I mean, that was everything I ever wanted. So, much appreciated.
Hang on.
What you looking for?
I want to make sure I got this right.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say here.
It's one of those weird baseball facts. The Texas Rangers hold the MLB record for most runs scored in an extra inning game.
Really?
Against Oakland in 1983, because they were on the road, they were the top of the inning team.
Yeah.
They proceeded to have a 4-4 game become 16-4 as the Rangers scored 12 runs in the 15th inning.
Wow.
And now you know.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it's funny because the A's became like a power a few years later.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And that was not a great Ranger team. The A3 Rangers were terrible. We'll have to do a series on the late 70s Rangers. Some of the best teams that didn't make the playoffs because only one team per division made the playoffs back then. A lot of all you youngins, y'all don't remember, it used to be the East and the West. That was it. And then it became the East, West, and the Central.
Yeah. 93 was the first year I watched baseball, and the last year of this format that you're mentioning. I still remember the San Francisco Giants lost out to the Braves, and the Giants, I think, won 103 games that season. So, Barry Bonds became my favorite player. They got destroyed by the Dodgers to close out the season, and that was the difference.
In 1978, the Rangers won 87 games and finished in second place. To Kansas City was a great team. In 1979, they won 83 games and finished in third place. Those are playoff. That's wild card numbers now.
Yep. The thing of the 87 Twins, they had a pretty terrible team. They just played so good at home.
Yeah. 87, I think it was 87 wins they had. I had a poster for that team, oddly enough. My dad was a truck driver at the time, and so he would why is this not letting me? He was a truck driver at the time, so he would always pick like hats and posters up from other towns. That's why when I was a kid, I had a Cowboy poster, a Washington poster, a Philadelphia poster, a Houston Oilers poster, New Orleans Saints. I had them all. I just collected them all. In 1977, I think that's the one I was thinking the most of. Yeah, Texas. In 1977, Texas won 94 games and finished 8 games out of first place because Kansas City won 102 games that year and still couldn't beat the Yankees.
Yeah, and they still couldn't beat the Yankees.
Golly. All right. Well, we're going to have one of these probably not this next Thursday, but the next Thursday. I would like to, as long as our schedules work, try to keep these on Thursday. I feel like that's happy hour. Thursday's always happy hour. And maybe we switch it. We might start at 6 to see, but I mean, we got 5,000 people that's been watching the whole time. Anything else you want to throw in?
Nothing I can think of at the moment. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a lot of free agency stuff to talk about in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah. That's gonna dominate the show, and of course we are gonna have a live draft party
and some March Madness.
And some March Madness. I think you could be, and I do definitely want to do a Dallas Stars, at least one playoff watch game. And again, these you can just stay at your house. We did the NFL like that draft last year, and it worked perfectly fine. I do want to get back into here, probably start in the next couple weeks doing some draft profiles. I had fun doing that, what teams need, things like that. We'll do drunk drafting, that means the Monday before the draft, you and I will draft as drunk as possible.
Yeah.
I think last year we did 3 shots before we even started. And the weird thing is, I was looking at the list, we got a lot right.
I think the owners and GMs were also drunk.
Or they're just listening to us.
I still remember you reacting to Booker getting drafted last season by the Cowboys.
I will pull that down and we will play that here in our show. All right, if you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, email the show, odtcnetwork@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook. Just type in OutDrank The Coverage. On Twitter @OutDrank. Yeah, until next time, he's intern Noe the I am Noe. Terry. You earned it. You got it. So happy, go F yourself. That's it for this week's show. See ya.